What's going on, everyone? So, the San Antonio Spurs are linked to Trey Murphy and a potential trade for him, which I'm all over. If you can get Trey Murphy, one of the things about, this team and the Spurs team is you're probably going to have to look at consolidating at some point. Right now, obviously, there's the version of the star where you go get a Giannis or something like that. But there's also the version where you go get just like that really good kind of foundation piece that makes sense, that fills a position of need. Talk about a guy that gets slot in at the 4 right next to Victor Wembanyama, that can be that 3-and-D style wing that's big enough to play either forward spot, young enough to be a growth and foundation piece. Talk about somebody 25 years old, so he fits the timeline and the growth and upside potential. He's coming off of an incredible season where he's averaging 21 points per game, right? He's a guy that checks off a lot of marks. Like, I'm even okay with overpaying for a Trey Murphy, right? Now, a lot of people, you never want to overpay just to overpay. Like, I want to be clear about that. Like, I'm not like, oh, here, take, Victor Wembanyama from, like, nothing crazy like that. But I'm saying, like, because there's going to be competition, right? There's several teams that are interested in Trey Murphy. Recent reports came out that the New Orleans Pelicans want multiple firsts and a young proven player. I don't know what they mean by proven. Like, do you want somebody that's like 25, 26 that's young and proven? Or do you want somebody that's like, 23 that like has looked good, right? Like, do you want a Jeremy Sohan, right? Could you do maybe Jeremy Sohan and a couple picks in order to do that, right? Like, what exactly is it looking for, and how many firsts? Like, what's multiple firsts? Is it 2? Is it 5? Because I'm not putting together like a Giannis package to go and land a Trey Murphy. I like Trey a lot. I think he's one of the few guys in the league, given his age, his skill set, his capabilities, the way I just see him fitting in seamlessly with the Spurs team. I would be willing to pony up quite a bit in order to land him. But again, it has to make sense, right? It has to be a trade that makes sense. I don't mind slightly overpaying though, right? So say it's 2 firsts and a young player, right? Like, and you have competition, other teams are offering whatever, right? Let's say you had to throw in an extra first, right? Fine. If it gets it done, it gets I'm not overpaying in the sense of like, okay, well, here's all of our first and all, like, here's Castle and Sohan and like, no, nothing crazy. There's a difference between, overpaying and a justified overpay and then just being reckless, right? Like, I don't mind teams overpaying. Like, you see all the time, like, oh man, that was an overpay. But was it warranted? There's an overpay because you just got fleeced, right? And then there's an overpay in the sense of like, no, that's justified, right? An overpay for a guy like a Trey Murphy, in my opinion, would be justified because, again, of his age, his skill set, what he does, what this team needs as far as shooting and that versatile guy, right? Like, he's everything you hope Jeremy Sohan can be. Yeah, you could argue Jeremy Sohan's probably slightly better defensively and whatnot, but there's, night and day offensively. There's no comparison offensively. It's not like Trey Murphy is some slouch defensively, and he's on the rise, and he's really, so again, like, he would slot in and be everything that this Spurs team needs. So you have based on the reports, the kind of parameters in place of what it would cost in order to go and trade for a Trey Murphy. Perfect. Beautiful, right? Young player, multiple firsts. Spurs could easily pony that up, right? But again, it's what, Are they okay with protected first? What do they want? Right? Like, if you could do like a Jeremy Sohan or something like that, sure. But if they want like a Dylan Harper, it's like, yeah, absolutely not. You're crazy, right? Like, or Stephon Castle, I would wait in that case. Like, not saying you couldn't trade Stephon Castle. You could, right? Especially if Dylan Harper kind of comes into his own, or Devin Vassell's really good. But I would want to wait and see first, right? So like, if it is something like a Stephon Castle, I would have to wait and make sure. One, I want to make sure Trey Murphy can be healthy because he didn't come off of a really healthy season, but like, everybody was unhealthy. So I want to see him be healthy. I want to see him kind of, like, what does he look like last year? Because you got to take into account Trey Murphy was very good last year, but a lot of that was circumstantial, right? His numbers got inflated and skyrocketed, but how much of that was he just took that significant of a stride, or it's because like the entire roster was injured, and many nights he was the main guy. He was like the sole guy out there, right? Like, things like that are the differences. So I'm not saying you don't. Like, if you can get him for a good deal right now, you get him for a good deal right now. But the Pelicans aren't in a rush to trade him. There's even talks about, like, would they actually trade him? That it's unlikely. Jake Fisher recently talked about it and said, that this is basically what they're looking for, but it's not likely that they trade him. More likely than not, they're probably going to be patient. And we've already gotten reports that have came out that are like the Pelicans would be foolish to trade him and stuff, which, I'm being honest, they would be. It's probably not the best decision making. If you're a team like the New Orleans Pelicans, where it's like, hey, we're gonna trade our best young player right now, right? But like even a Herb Jones or something like that, I think would make a lot of sense. Right? He's not trade eligible right now because he just got the new extension. But as you progress into the season, especially if he's coming off the bench or whatever, like and Trey Murphy kind of continues to evolve and emerge, maybe a Herb Jones is somebody that you could go look to maybe pull that off and go make that trade for. And especially because then you'd have the sample size with some of these guys. You'd be able to kind of see, okay, like what guys can we afford to lose, or aren't kind of what we expect, or like where are the real log jams and whatnot, right? Is Devin Vassell, is he back to being that like 19-point a game guy and playing both sides of the ball and just being really good for the Spurs, or is he kind of like was last season an outlier and the lack of consistency and stuff because he was dealing with injuries and things like that? Or is that just kind of what he was because now you have De'Aaron Fox, you have Dylan Harper, you have Stephon Castle, you have Harrison Barnes, you have all these pieces now that you didn't have previously, where he kind of got to be the guy out there and just take his shots and do his thing, right? Like, so maybe you're now going, okay, like we can trade, here's a Devin Vassell and picks, right? Rather than, the alternative where it's like, okay, maybe he's really good and he's not the guy you're trading. So then maybe it's like, okay, well, maybe we can trade a Stephon Castle and go get a guy that's young enough so it's justified and makes sense. And we're not trading for some 32-year-old, right? We're trading for a 25-year-old who can come in and really kind of be a foundation piece for us long term. And now you don't have that logjam, right? Now you got Fox and Devin Vassell with Dylan Harper as like your sixth man. Trey Murphy, I'd probably go Harrison Barnes at that point. Harrison Barnes at the 3, and then Wemby at the 4. And now you got the shooting, the floor spacing, the defense, the switchability. You got all the things to put together in order to kind of make that. And like I said, you kind of get to watch and see guys like Herb Jones or Trey Murphy or whomever, right? So hopefully, again, just if you're the Spurs, stay the course, be patient. It's nice that we got some information, some news on a potential Trey Murphy trade and update and all that stuff. And hopefully it's something that, we get to we get some information on and as we kind of progress into the season and towards the trade deadline. Maybe that kind of becomes a bigger option and the Spurs just have better clarity on what they need or whatnot. Because it's also like, what if Jeremy Sohan is just everything this team needs now and he's shooting 35% from 3-point range, which isn't even crazy. But how many times have we talked about Jeremy Sohan's like a quality 3 away from being one of the premier guys. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Else, if not, we enjoy these types of videos and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.